Here we go. It's John Adams of the Knoxville News Sentinel and the USA Today Network. And he is all over the place and he's fantastic. Nice enough to join us. Brought to you by Vols Automotive Group and Big Orange Philly. Smash on that like and subscribe button so we can be a part of your day and a part of your Tennessee and SEC sports coverage. And John, I'll tell you what, it is Tennessee, Florida week. And I was having this discussion with a couple of different people. And I think every rival fan base likes to say, oh, we're the better team. It just sounds good. But the simple fact is, if you go back over the past 25 years or so, Florida has had more talent. Visiting with some people at Florida, this may be one of those exception years where Tennessee has a more talented roster. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely do, Dave. And I think even when both teams were in their heyday in the 90s and the edge in talent was often slight, sometimes Tennessee did have an edge in talent, I thought, both very talented rosters, but Florida still prevailed. Uh, I think that's what concerns Tennessee fans, even though they think, well, we're the better team, but they've been the better team occasionally, not often, but occasionally, and failed to win. I remember, I guess it was 2011 when, in the Derek Dooley era, easily forgotten by Tennessee fans, trying to block that one out. But it was playing at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee had a 9-0 lead going into the fourth quarter, and Florida put in this quarterback named Trayon Harris, who who was no SEC quarterback, and I'm surprised he was even on Florida's roster. But he rallied the Gators for a 10-9 win. Never heard from again. He went into witness protection. Uh, yeah, so those kind of games are the ones that trouble Tennessee fans, I think.
What would a win against Florida mean? Let's get to that. Hit that like and subscribe button. Share too, because your friends need to know about Viles Automotive Group. Viles Automotive Group is about integrity on Callahan. Their goal is to be your auto hub, so to speak. And that includes great selection of cars, that includes a service department with integrity. That's what they're all about. They want, need, and appreciate your business. And a win would just be monstrous for Tennessee. Heading into an off week, they would be rated in the top 10. You would have to think with an off week, if some teams lose in front of them, they could even be rated higher. It is just it's a monster game for the program, John, no question.
Yeah, and when you talk about those rankings, Tennessee was ranked ninth in 2016 after beating both Florida and Georgia. Then lost three consecutive games. You have to go back to 2001 to find Tennessee ranked, finished the year ranked in the top 10, I think. So this is heady stuff for Tennessee now for the way the last 20 years or so have gone. And what's interesting about it is Florida, it helps when you're playing a team that still has an image of being good. I've watched Florida in all three games, and it easily could be 0-3. Probably should be 0-3. Should have lost to Utah. Utah handed it the game inside the 10, and then you had South Florida could negotiate a center snap. Florida gets the win. So, yeah, it's Florida has an image of being good, but it's really not very good right now. So it's a tremendous opportunity for Tennessee, and their fans are going to really show up big and show up loud Saturday.
Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson, per people I've talked to at Florida, is either hurt, has a confidence issue, or both. That's not good for Florida. That's good for Tennessee. Hit the like and subscribe button, and you can be a part of our coverage. Big Orange Phillies is a great place to watch the game or any game because they are family friendly and they've got billiards, they've got darts, they've got it all right there. Incredible food at Big Orange Phillies. Anthony Richardson's running ability is really the only chance I give Florida in this game. If Tennessee doesn't, and I can go X's and O's too far on you. I remember saying great hips in front of you, and you just looked at me like I was crazy. A corner had great hips. Uh,
Please, nobody wants to hear that.
he could flip his hip.
Nobody cares.
But I know that I can be an X's and O's guy, but it really is about gap integrity. I think of it as Patrick. I think of it as Patrick Mahomes. Okay. So Patrick Mahomes, the way to play him is have four guys that are not really concerned about sacks. They're concerned about containing him. You drop seven into coverage and you just don't let him beat you with his legs. So you just have to make sure that he doesn't get outside the tackles or you create lanes if the coverage is good downfield. That's the only way I see Florida winning this game. If he has two or three big plays that flip drives and eventually flip the game.
Dave, you and I could go into this game as co-defensive coordinators and come up with a scheme that would baffle Florida's offense. Anthony Richardson is really an intriguing player in that he's played very little, and Mel Kiper just threw him in a first-round draft pick in 2023. What in the world is he thinking? I don't deny that Anthony Richardson is a tremendous athlete, and if he ran a 400-meter race against most guys in the SEC, I'd bet on Anthony Richardson. But he's got to play quarterback. As you said, the word out of Florida is he might be hurt. His confidence might be shot. And oh, by the way, he hadn't thrown a touchdown pass in 3 games, but has thrown 4 interceptions. Other than that, he's a first-round NFL draft pick, and watch out. Here comes Anthony Richardson. Yeah, and I thought the same thing watching him in Saturday's game against USF. He looked like someone totally devoid of confidence. I mean, if I were the coach and I had anybody else to put in there at QB, Kitna maybe. I mean, they say he's not ready. Well, nice recruiting, Dan. But yeah, there's just I don't see this happening at all. Florida's offense is a mess right now, and to me, Dave, you have a very structured coach in Billy Napier, first-year coach. If you watch this Louisiana team, he did a nice job at Louisiana. He's very structured, everything he does, even peripheral issues surrounding the program. I think he counted the steps from the practice field to the locker room and decided it was the best time interest to have the players bus back to where they could change their clothes. So, but you got a structured system, and you got a quarterback who you kind of just need to hope he runs around and finds an opening and breaks a 60-yard touchdown run. It's not a real good mix.
No, it's not. And the stat of the week brought to you by Vols Automotive Group is Anthony Richardson has 2 more tackles than he has touchdown passes. A quarterback.
Man, is there like a worse stat in the world? Yeah, our quarterback has tackled 4 people already this season. Yeah, he can really, in the open field, he can make a play on a guy with a football. You know what that means? There's been a turnover, and it probably came from your QB. And yeah, he didn't run for a touchdown because Anthony Richardson can really tackle. Great.
But he really hurt the guy because he's big and strong when he tackled him. So
he is big. Yeah, he is big and strong. I don't remember seeing a player in the SEC that has gotten as much hype and done as little. And look, I was on this bandwagon in terms of potential. We talk about Anthony Richardson in terms of potential. I mean, we've seen the highlights. He makes these extraordinary runs. I've seen him make spectacular passes on the run, thread the needle deep downfield. But there's a little more to playing quarterback than that. And maybe he'll develop one day, but I don't see him developing by Saturday.
No, I don't either. And then Ventral Miller, his status, I'll give you a little insight to that. And he is the Mike linebacker that calls all of the plays, and he was out against South Florida. Want to remind you to go to Big Orange Phillies. Big Orange Phillies, great food right there in North Knoxville. Hit that like and subscribe button. But I started the week, and I thought to myself, John, surely they just held him out of South Florida thinking it would be an easy win. He's going to be fine. And now I'm hearing that he's not going to play. this sets up as, if he's the guy calling the defensive plays. I know you have somebody else do that in preseason, and somebody's got to be ready to do that, but still somebody does it first because they're best at it. That to me is a big time issue. Maybe as much, if he doesn't play, maybe as much as Anthony Richardson being scared and hurt.
Yeah, Ventral Miller was hurt last year, and he's been around this program for a while. He's a really great tackle. He really mans the middle of the field effectively, and that is a big loss. And when you think about how Tennessee plays, spreading the field from one sideline to the other, and then creating openings in the middle, and that's when they run the ball. And you've seen guys break plays for them. And Ventral Miller is the he can stop that kind of run. That's what Florida relies on him so heavily. So that combine that with the play calling and the fact that I don't know who Florida's. I don't even know who the replacement is for him. He's not a household name. I'll put it that way. You know
Well,
what they go
he
ahead.
is in Cincinnati. It's John Kitna's son.
No, I'm talking about for Ventral Miller.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I mean, we could move Kenton to linebacker. In fact, I might like Florida's chances better Saturday if they put Anthony Richardson at middle linebacker, the Mike linebacker. He's big, strong, and fast. What more do you need? And he's not afraid to tackle somebody after they've intercepted one of his passes.
But does he know gap integrity?
No, but
but who does?
Yeah, gap integrity. I think when the bullets start flying, gap integrity takes a real big hit.
It might. Now I know that Billy Napier wants to come out, and you talk about the structure of what he wants to do. He wants to run the football. He wants to set up the pass with the run, play action, waggles, bootlegs, all of that. And the question is, can they run the football and shorten the game? I think ultimately that determines. I've got Tennessee winning, but if they can shorten the game, if they can have some success, 150 or so yards running the football, then I think that it's a closer game. I think that spread comes into question. And I just don't know if they can yet, because I don't think with Ball State and Akron there was any test of running the ball, and really Pitt was okay running the ball. I'm not sure what Tennessee is up front defensively, in particular in the interior.
Yeah, and I will say, Dave, I'm not just going to rip on Florida, because Florida's offensive line, I think, has improved. That was a real issue for Billy Napier when he first came in there and he's establishing his program. He wanted to make it very clear that Florida wants to be a physical team, an aggressive team, offense and defense. And that showed up in its line play. I think its offensive line and run blocking is better. And usually it takes a while for run blocking to come along. But I think right out of the gate, Florida's running game is pretty good. Now, if you can get Anthony Richardson involved in that, I think Florida needs to design running plays for him. Of course, if he's hurt and totally devoid of confidence, he may get the ball and say, "Oh, I can't run. I'm not any good," and just fall down. Okay. But otherwise, I think Florida needs to run him some and run those running backs. The Louisiana transfer, Montrell Johnson, I think is his name. He's a pretty good runner. Trevor Etienne, freshman, shows tremendous potential. So that to me is what Florida has to do. And we just don't know how well Tennessee's defensive front will hold up against that.
True. I do like the big playability, which goes back to that. The big playability of Tennessee's defensive front might not be on display this week as they try to contain more than sack Anthony Richardson. I think that's how you're going to see things play out. So you might not have the big plays, I should say, you saw against Pitt, but I also think that we've overlooked that win a little bit. I was talking to Cooper Mays, who's on Off the Hook Sports, and he said, that meant a lot because that's the type of game that Tennessee, and he's talking about even before he played for him, was a fan because his dad played there and all of that, and he grew up in Knoxville. He said that's the kind of game that Tennessee wins or Tennessee loses, excuse me, but they did win. And you look at that, and I think there's an awful lot of confidence maybe that we haven't spoken about as much that you derive from beating a ranked team on the road. We'll see how good Pitt is, but that's still a significant achievement.
Yeah, when I look at Pitt's schedule, Dave, it's not insurmountable. I mean, Pittsburgh could end up it could win 8 games very easily. I don't see it as a top 25 team, but its front seven on defense is really solid. And they got 3 or 4 guys in there that could play in the NFL. And so I think Tennessee. It's understandable that Tennessee's line would get offensive line in particular would get some confidence from that. And Pittsburgh has a veteran offensive line. Everybody's back from last season. I think it had an injury against Tennessee, but that also should give the defensive front some confidence. So that, from that perspective, you're right, it was a pretty good win for Tennessee, and coupled that with it was on the road.
Okay, let's play the what if game. If the Florida game does play out the way it's played out before, where Tennessee goes into it and Tennessee fans are extremely confident and they don't win, what do you think of this team's ability to overcome a loss like that? And it's there's going to be one of these losses at some point. I think you and I talked, there are 4 swing games. They're probably going to lose one of those that they're going to come away saying we should have won. And I'm excluding Alabama and Georgia from that conversation. But I really like this team's moxie and confidence. And I don't know if that gets dented with a potential loss, but just the mindset of this team has stood out to me. Josh Heupel was joking with reporters on Monday, whereas Andre Dickerson used to talk about how tight the coaches got Florida week. And I just really think that this mindset, even though this is a huge game, at the end of the day, I think Tennessee could have a great season if they were to lose. Not that that's going to happen, but your thoughts on just their overall approach and mindset.
Yeah, I think that's players usually reflect their coaches, and I think that's indicative of Josh Heupel. He handles adversity very well. He's really even keel. He doesn't get overly hyped up when things are going well, and he doesn't get downcast when things aren't going well. I think Tennessee plays loose, and that's a 180 from what Tennessee has played for the most part in this series. Going back to the 90s when both teams were really good, and Philip Fulmer was at Tennessee as coach, and Steve Spurrier was at Florida. Florida came into that game just confident, loose. Hey, let's have fun, and it did usually. And you're right, Tennessee was uptight. The stakes were high then; they aren't as high now. But I do think no matter what happens, and you're right, you figure at some point Tennessee's not Georgia and it's not Alabama, that it will lose a game it's supposed to win, and I think it will handle that. Josh Heupel, I mean, his team goes 3 and out, is on the field about 40 seconds. His offense is, and they come right back the next series and they might start rolling. That's the nature of the team, and I think that's the nature of Heupel.
He's John Adams. I'm Dave Hooker. Your score prediction brought to you by Vols Automotive Group and Big Orange Phillies. Vols Automotive Group has great selection, and they also have just incredible integrity. And they've got the service department, so you're going to know that you'll be taken care of, and you'll be taken care of with honesty and integrity. And Big Orange Phillies right there on Maynardville Pike. It's just awesome food, awesome place to hang out, good people. So Big Orange Phillies and Vols Automotive Group brings you John Adams and my prediction. Do you want to go first, John, or me?
I'd rather you go first, Dave. You're the host, whatever that means.
Co-host. I'm taking Tennessee, and I think that they almost cover but don't. I'll say 31-21. Right, I think Vegas has a number pretty spot on at 10.5. So I will say 31-21, Tennessee with a win.
I was surprised when the line opened at 10, but that kind of reflects what people think of the Gators right now. I thought it would be maybe 7.5. But I still like Tennessee.
It actually
Or
was before the South Florida game, and yeah, it moved.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, Florida won the game, but it didn't win the betters over, did
No.
it? We don't want any part of this team. No way we're putting money on them. I kind of feel that way, even with the 10.5 point line. It may grow to 11 or 12. I wouldn't be shocked if it grew to that by kickoff, but I would still pick Tennessee to win and cover. I'd say about 37-23.
Wow. We're fairly close, and you've got them covering. He's John Adams. I'm Dave Hooker. Vols Automotive Group, Big Orange Phillies are fantastic. You're going to love it at both places. The experience you'll have is absolutely unmatched. This has been a production of Off the Hook Sports.